Today is Wednesday, Parashat Nitzavim. Parashat this week tells us, Re'esi natati lefanecha, I put in front of you, hayom, today, et ha'chaim ve'et hatov, life and good, ve'et ha'mavet ve'et hara, and death and the evil. In other words, you have to make choices. And a few pesukim down, Parashat tells us, Chaim ve'ha'mavet natati lefanecha. I gave you two paths, path of life or death. Beracha ve'akelala, blessing and curse. You choose life, you choose with it blessing. You choose death, curse with it. What is life and death? The Torah is Torat Chaim. The Torah and its mitzvot is the path that will bring you to life and to goodness. Ubacharta b'chaim, and it's somewhat of an exhortation. Please choose life. Rashi explains, it's like a father who tells his son, please make the right choices. And making the right choices is connecting with Torah and its mitzvot. Leman tihyeh, so that you shall live. Ata, you, vezarecha, and your descendants. In other words, it's responsible not only to yourself, but also to bring good things for your descendants. Because if you connect with Torah, if you follow mitzvot, then your children will emulate you. And they will also then themselves will be able to enjoy the many blessings that are connected with Torah. Now, in the early days of immigration to this country, people came from Europe. There were some families that were Shomer Shabbat in Europe and came here, and of course they were Shomer Shabbat here. But it was a period of, in the early 1900s, where it was difficult to find a job. And if somebody found a job, many times the employer would ask for the person to work on Shabbat, otherwise he would be fired. In other words, don't come back on Monday if you don't come to work on Saturday. And of course, many people didn't work on Shabbat, even at the risk of losing their job and having to look for another job. Yet, some families, their children, continued to be Torah-observant Jews, keeping Shabbat, and some didn't. What was the difference? Rabbi Moshe Feinstein explains, the ones whose children didn't continue in the right path of Torah observance and Shabbat were parents who at the Shabbat table said, it's so difficult to be Jewish, that it's so difficult to observe. They didn't do it with a sense of feeling fortunate to follow the mitzvot. The children felt that it was too difficult, a load to carry. But those that says, Shabbat, Am Yisrael, is a very unique opportunity, of course. We are going to observe Shabbat no matter what, because this is the best way to do it. And they had a certain feeling of enthusiasm, of observance of mitzvot. And their children will carry that into the future. Very important, the attitude with which you do the mitzvot. So, v'acharta b'chaim, choose life with the feeling that you're making the right choice. Not that you're making the choice by being obligated, even though you don't feel like it or that type of thing. But rather you're doing it with a sense of, that's the best thing to do. And when your children will see that attitude, they will continue also to make the right choices into the future. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.